I still remember the first time I saw her. It was a late September afternoon, the kind of golden day when the sun seems reluctant to leave, spilling honey-colored light across the campus. I had just turned 19, a freshman stumbling into the vast world of university life. I expected dull lectures, crowded libraries, and the weight of textbooks. What I hadn't expected was her. Professor Bennett. She walked into the lecture hall like she owned the room. She wasn't young, not in the way most students like to imagine their dream women. She was in her late 30s, maybe early 40s, though it was impossible to tell. Her confidence disguised any trace of age. The sharp cut of her black blazer, the sway of her pencil skirt, the measured rhythm of her heels on the tile floor, everything about her radiated control. "Welcome to Introduction to Literature," she said, her voice low and firm, yet strangely melodic. "If you're here to sleep through class or copy Wikipedia, I suggest you leave now." A few students laughed nervously. No one left. I should have been taking notes, but my eyes betrayed me. I couldn't stop staring. Not just at her curves, though God knows they were impossible to ignore. It was her presence. She had a way of looking at people that made you feel like she saw right through you. When her gaze swept over me, pausing for the briefest second, I felt a jolt, like electricity had crawled down my spine. At 19, you think you're invincible. You think every older woman secretly craves your attention, that you're some kind of hidden fantasy come alive. But the truth was, she wasn't like the women I'd dated in high school. She wasn't some shy girl fumbling with affection. She was deliberate. Dangerous. Over the weeks that followed, I found myself arriving early just to see her walk in, to hear her heels strike the floor. She challenged us, tore apart our lazy ideas, and rewarded only those who dared to think differently. And every time she leaned over my desk to glance at my notes, I had to fight the urge to stop breathing. Then one evening, everything shifted. It was after a seminar. The classroom had emptied, the soft murmur of students fading into the hall. I lingered, pretending to organize my bag, when in truth, I wanted one more look. "You stay behind a lot," she said suddenly, her voice startling me. I looked up. She was leaning against the desk, arms crossed, watching me with that piercing gaze. I just like to make sure I understand everything," I stammered. Her lips curved, not quite a smile, more like an evaluation. "Do you really, Mr. Carter? Or do you just like watching me?" The air froze between us. My chest tightened. I didn't know whether to deny it or confess. My throat went dry. Maybe both. Her expression didn't change, but her eyes gleamed like she had just confirmed a suspicion. She pushed off the desk and walked toward me slowly, her heels echoing in the empty room. Each step made my pulse hammer harder. When she stood close enough that I could smell her perfume, something sharp, floral, intoxicating, she leaned down just slightly. "Be careful, Mr. Carter," she whispered, her voice a velvet blade. "Curiosity can be dangerous." And just like that, she turned and left, the door clicking shut behind her. I sat frozen, my hands trembling, my body betraying me in ways I couldn't hide. From that night on, I knew nothing between us would ever be the same. The following days were torture. Every glance she gave me in class seemed sharper, deliberate. I couldn't tell if I was imagining it or if she truly meant something more. Whenever she called on me to answer a question, my pulse raced as though she were undressing me with her eyes. And then came the assignment. We were to choose a novel and analyze the relationship dynamics between the characters. Most students groaned, but I felt oddly thrilled. I picked Wuthering Heights, a book I had never read before but knew was filled with forbidden love, obsession, and dangerous passion. When I turned in my first draft, she summoned me after class. "This is interesting," she said, flipping through the pages. "You focus so much on desire, on the way it consumes the characters. Why?" I swallowed hard. "Because that's what feels real. People don't fall in love politely. They fall hard, messy, dangerous." For the first time, she smiled. A real smile, faint but unmistakable. "Messy and dangerous," she repeated. "That's one way to put it." Her eyes locked on mine, and in that moment, the world outside the classroom ceased to exist. No chatter of students, no ticking clock, just her and me, caught in an invisible current. "Rewrite it," she finally said, closing the folder. "Push further. Don't hold back. I want to see what you're really capable of." I left her office shaking, both terrified and exhilarated. She had challenged me, and not just academically. The following week, I poured myself into the paper. Every line I wrote seemed to echo my secret thoughts of her voice, her touch, her dominance. I described passion as a fire that devours reason, desire as a chain that binds and liberates at once. When I handed it in, I half expected her to call me out, to expose me for what I really meant. Instead, she said nothing. But that evening, I received an email. "Mr. Carter, your essay reveals more than you realize. Meet me tomorrow, 7 p.m., room 304. Do not be late. Professor Bennett." My heart nearly stopped. Was this real? Was it a trap? I didn't know. But I couldn't resist. Room 304 was an old seminar hall, unused after hours. When I arrived, the building was nearly empty, the corridors dimly lit. I pushed the door open and found her there, standing by the window, the last light of day painting her silhouette in gold. "You came," she said simply, turning to face me. Yeah. Of course." She studied me for a long moment, as if weighing something in her mind. Then she walked closer, her heels muffled on the carpet. "You wrote about passion as if you've lived it," she said softly. "But I wonder, do you even understand what it means?" I couldn't answer. My throat locked, my palms sweaty. She circled me slowly, like a predator studying prey. "You're young, bold, reckless. And you think desire is a game." Her voice dropped lower, silk over steel. "But desire is power, Mr. Carter. It's surrender. It's control." I swallowed hard, heat crawling up my neck. She stopped behind me, close enough that I could feel her breath against my ear. "Tell me, are you willing to learn? Not from books. from me. I turned my head, our eyes meeting in the glass of the window. My pulse was so loud it drowned everything else. "Yes," I whispered. For a long moment, silence reigned. Then she smiled faintly, as though amused by my audacity. "Then your lessons," she murmured, "are only beginning." The next day crawled by like a year. I couldn't focus on lectures, couldn't eat, couldn't talk to anyone without hearing her voice in my head, "Your lessons are only beginning." By the time 7 o'clock neared, my nerves were so tight I felt they might snap. I found myself outside room 304 again, the empty corridor humming with the distant buzz of fluorescent lights. My hand hovered over the door handle, slick with sweat. When I finally pushed it open, she was already there. Professor Bennett stood at the center of the room, dressed not in her usual blazer but in a fitted black dress that seemed designed to unsettle me. Her hair was loose around her shoulders, and she looked at me with an expression that was equal parts curiosity and control. "You're on time," she said. "Good." I closed the door behind me, the sound echoing in the silence. "Do you know why you're here?" she asked. I swallowed. "To learn." A faint smile curved her lips. "At least you're honest." She walked toward me slowly, her heels clicking in deliberate rhythm. When she stopped just inches away, I could feel the heat radiating off her. "Tonight is not about books or essays," she murmured. "It's about discipline. Attention. Obedience." The word hit me like a strike, obedience. I don't know what you mean," I said, though my voice betrayed the tremor inside me. "Oh, you know exactly," she whispered, tilting her head. "You wrote about passion as if it were a storm. But storms are chaotic. What I want to teach you is control. Do you trust me?" The question sent my pulse racing. I hesitated, then nodded. Her eyes gleamed. "Good. Then listen carefully. From now on, when you're in this room, you'll address me as ma'am. Nothing else. Do you understand?" "Yes, ma'am," I said instinctively, the words burning strange and thrilling on my tongue. Her smile deepened. "Better." She began simply. "Stand up straight," she commanded. "Shoulders back. Eyes forward." I obeyed. "Now hands behind your back." Again, I obeyed, my breath uneven. She circled me like she had before, inspecting, testing. I felt her presence everywhere, though she barely touched me. It was her voice, her authority, that sent shivers through me. "This is what you don't understand, Mr. Carter," she said softly. "Desire isn't just about hunger. It's about restraint. The more you restrain, the more powerful it becomes. Do you feel it?" "Yes, ma'am." Her hand brushed my shoulder lightly, barely a touch, yet my entire body jolted as if struck by lightning. She noticed, of course. "Sensitive," she said, almost amused. "That will make this easier." Minutes bled into hours. She gave me simple commands: sit, stand, walk across the room, hold still. Each one sounded ordinary, but under her gaze, every movement became loaded, intimate, dangerous. When I faltered, she corrected me sharply. Not cruelly, but with precision. You hesitate too much, she scolded. Confidence is earned through control. Try again. And I did again and again until my body moved before thought, guided only by her voice. By the end, I was trembling, not from fear but from an intensity I'd never felt before. You did well, she finally said, stepping closer. Her hand lingered just beneath my chin, tilting my face up to meet her eyes. But this is only the surface. Do you want to go deeper? The words escaped me before I could think. Yes, ma'am. Her smile was slow, deliberate. Then you'll prove it. Next week, same place, same time. Don't disappoint me. That night, I lay awake replaying every second. Her voice echoed in my mind, every command burned into my skin. I wasn't sure what was happening between us, but I knew I was addicted already. Over the next few days, classes felt surreal. I watched her stand at the lectern, perfectly composed, while I sat in the crowd pretending we were nothing more than teacher and student. But whenever her eyes flicked to mine, even briefly, I felt the invisible chain tighten. By Thursday, she raised the stakes. After class, as students shuffled out, she called me to her desk. Mr. Carter, she said in her usual professional tone. I want you to stay after tomorrow's lecture. There's additional work I expect from you. Her eyes said everything her words didn't. Yes, ma'am, I replied, careful to keep my voice neutral. I saw the faintest twitch of satisfaction at the corner of her mouth before she dismissed me. Friday evening, the room was empty once again except for the two of us. This time, she had prepared. On the desk lay a single object, a thin leather strap, no longer than a ruler. My throat went dry. Do you know what this is? She asked. I shook my head. It's a tool, she explained calmly. Not for pain, but for focus. Sometimes the body needs to be reminded who is in control. Her fingers trailed over the strap slowly, deliberately. Do you trust me enough to allow this? My breath hitched. Every instinct screamed that this was madness. But the heat in her gaze left me no choice. Yes, ma'am. Her smile was cool, approving. Good boy. The words struck me harder than any strap could. That evening, she tested me further. The strap never fell with cruelty, just sharp enough to awaken me, to demand attention. A quick tap on the wrist when I faltered, a sting across my palm when I hesitated. Each correction carried both punishment and reward, for each time she whispered approval afterward, my chest filled with fire. You learn quickly, she murmured, running her hand lightly along my shoulder after a session. But you'll need more discipline if you want to satisfy me. The word satisfy echoed in my mind long after I left the room. The weeks passed like a dream. Every Friday night, room 304 became our secret world. There, I was not just a student. I was hers. Her voice guided me, her hand corrected me, her approval fueled me. It was intoxicating. But reality always intruded. In the daylight, she was still Professor Bennett, untouchable, authoritative, the woman everyone respected and some secretly feared. And I was still just 19, another face in a sea of students. Pretending not to know her in any special way became harder each day. And then she appeared. Her name was Emily. A sophomore, younger than me by only a year, but somehow far more confident. She sat 2 rows ahead in class, always eager to answer questions. Blonde hair tied in a loose bun, glasses she didn't need but wore anyway, like armor. At first, I thought nothing of her. But then I noticed something that chilled me, the way Professor Bennett's eyes lingered on her. It wasn't obvious not to anyone else. But I had come to recognize that gaze. The sharp, testing way she looked at me when we were alone. And now she was looking at Emily the same way. One day after lecture, as students were gathering their things, I overheard them. "Stay behind, Miss Clark," Professor Bennett said casually. My chest tightened. I waited outside the hall, pretending to tie my shoe, straining to hear through the door. Their voices were low, muffled, but I caught fragments. "Potential in your essays. Discipline, focus. If you're willing." When Emily finally walked out, her cheeks were flushed, her eyes bright. She avoided looking at me, but the way she clutched her notebook to her chest told me everything. That Friday, I confronted her. As soon as I stepped into room 304, she sensed my tension. "You're upset," she said simply, standing by the desk. "Why her?" I blurted out. "Why Emily?" A slow smile spread across her face, as if my jealousy amused her. "Ah," she said softly. "So you've noticed?" "Yes," I snapped. Are you doing the same with her?" She stepped closer, tilting her head. "And if I am?" The question hit me like a punch. "I thought I was special," I muttered. Her laughter was quiet, but sharp. "Oh, you are special, Mr. Carter. But you are not unique." I flinched at her words. She closed the distance between us, her fingers brushing my chin. "Desire isn't about ownership," she whispered. "It's about surrender. You surrendered to me. And perhaps she will too. Do you understand?" I don't know." "Then you'll learn." The next week, my worst fear became reality. When I entered room 304, Emily was already there. She stood by the window nervously, glancing between me and Professor Bennett. My stomach dropped. "Good," Professor Bennett said, her voice smooth as silk. "You're both here. Tonight will be different." Emily looked at me, then away quickly, her cheeks flushed. I realized she must have felt just as exposed as I did. "This is not about rivalry," Professor Bennett continued. "It's about exploration. You will learn from each other, as you learn from me. There will be no jealousy, no defiance. Only obedience. Is that clear?" "Yes, ma'am," I whispered, my throat tight. Emily echoed softly, "Yes, ma'am." Her voice shook, but her eyes betrayed a spark of curiosity. The lesson that night was unlike anything before. We stood side by side, mirroring commands. When she told us to stand straight, we both obeyed. When she told us to walk, to stop, to kneel. We did so in unison. It was surreal, almost ritualistic, like we were part of something larger than ourselves. And yet, jealousy gnawed at me. Every time Professor Bennett's hand brushed Emily's shoulder, every time she corrected her posture, I burned. But I also couldn't look away. Watching Emily surrender, watching her fall under the same spell that had captured me, stirred something dark and thrilling inside. At one point, Professor Bennett stood behind us, her hands on both our shoulders, her voice low and commanding. "Do you feel it?" she murmured. "The power of unity. The surrender of will. This is not about the self, it is about the bond. Together, you are stronger. Together, you will learn." Emily shivered beside me. I clenched my fists, torn between anger and desire. After the session, when Emily left the room, I stayed behind. "This isn't fair," I said, my voice breaking. You're mine." Professor Bennett's eyes narrowed, and in an instant, her hand gripped my chin firmly, forcing me to meet her gaze. "Do not mistake this," she hissed. "You are not mine, and I am not yours. You are my student. My subject. My experiment. If you cannot accept that, leave." Her grip loosened, but her gaze remained sharp as steel. I swallowed hard, my chest aching. I'll stay." She smiled faintly, releasing me. "Good boy." And with those words, I realized she had me trapped. No matter how much it hurt, no matter how much I burned with jealousy, I could never walk away. That night, as I lay awake, one thought consumed me. It was no longer just me and her. It was me, her, and Emily. And I didn't know whether I hated it or craved it. The next sessions were torture and ecstasy woven together. Every week, Emily was there. At first she was shy, hesitant, her voice trembling when she answered with "Yes, ma'am." But under Professor Bennett's guidance, she grew bolder, more obedient. She began to anticipate commands, to hold her posture with pride. And I hated it. I hated watching her flourish under the same gaze that once belonged to me alone. But worse, deep down, I loved it. One night, Professor Bennett arranged the chairs in a circle, a triangle with her at the head and us on either side. "Tonight," she said, "is about trust. And trust requires exposure." Emily and I exchanged uneasy glances. "Stand," she commanded. We obeyed. "Face each other." We did. Emily's eyes darted away from mine, but I could see her cheeks flush. "Good," Bennett murmured. "Now mirror each other. If one moves, the other follows. No hesitation." At first it was simple. I raised my hand, she raised hers. I stepped forward, she mirrored. Our movements were awkward, cautious. But soon, the rhythm took hold. We moved as one, circling, stepping, bending, rising. And all the while, Bennett watched us, her eyes sharp, hungry, satisfied. "Closer," she ordered. Our steps narrowed until there were only inches between us. I could feel Emily's breath against my skin. "Touch," Bennett said. My hand trembled as it rose to her arm. she mirrored, her palm grazing mine. Electricity shot through me. Do you feel it? Bennett's voice was low, steady. The current between you. This is power, Mr. Carter. This is surrender, Miss Clark. Together, you amplify each other's desire. Emily's eyes flicked up to mine, wide and uncertain, yet burning with something I recognized all too well. Then Bennett stood, heels striking the floor as she approached. She placed one hand on my shoulder, the other on Emily's. Neither of you belongs to each other, she whispered. You belong to me. Her words sank deep, heavy, and undeniable. And then she guided us. Her hands moved ours, bringing them together, intertwining fingers. Emily gasped softly, but didn't pull away. I felt my pulse roar in my ears. The closeness, the heat, the forbidden nature of it was overwhelming. Good, Bennett purred. Now hold. We stood there, hand in hand, our bodies trembling, while she circled us like a queen inspecting her subjects. The exercises grew more intense. Sometimes she blindfolded one of us, commanding the other to lead. Sometimes she whispered instructions to only one, testing if the other could follow without question. Each lesson blurred the lines between obedience, intimacy, and something darker. And yet, the real torment came afterward when Emily left, and I remained. Do you see now? Bennett asked one night, after Emily was gone. See what? I muttered bitterly. That jealousy is weakness, she said coldly. You cling to ownership because you're afraid of being consumed. But surrender requires courage. Until you learn that, you'll never be free. Her words cut deep. I wanted to fight them, but I couldn't. Because part of me knew she was right. One night, everything changed. Bennett told us to kneel, side by side, our eyes on the floor. She paced before us, her voice low and commanding. Tonight, you will face your limits, she said. And you will break them. She ordered me to hold Emily's wrists. My heart pounded as my hands closed around them. Do not let go, Bennett warned. Emily's breath quickened. I could feel her trembling, though whether from fear or anticipation, I couldn't tell. Then Bennett's hand slid over Emily's shoulder, down her arm, guiding her like a sculptor shaping clay. Her touch was firm, possessive, deliberate. Emily's lips parted, a faint sound escaping her throat. Focus, Bennett hissed at me. Do not be distracted. This is discipline for both of you. I held tighter, my pulse hammering, torn between jealousy and desire so raw it hurt. When it ended, Emily left in silence, her eyes avoiding mine. I stayed behind, shaking, my chest heaving. You doubt me, Bennett said softly. No, I whispered. Yes, she countered. You want me all to yourself. But that will never happen. I am not yours, Mr. Carter. I am above you. Her hand caught my chin, forcing me to meet her gaze. You are mine, she murmured, her voice like fire and ice. Say it. My throat tightened. I'm yours. Louder. I'm yours. Only then did she smile, slow and satisfied. Good boy. That night, I realized there was no escape. She had broken me, reshaped me, bound me not with chains but with desire itself. And worst of all, I wanted more. The final night began with silence. Room 304 was darker than usual, lit only by a single lamp in the corner. The air felt heavy, charged, as if the walls themselves knew what was coming. Emily was already there when I arrived. She avoided my eyes, clutching her notebook to her chest. But I could see the flush in her cheeks, the nervous energy in her trembling hands. And then the door closed behind us, and Professor Bennet stepped forward. "Tonight," she said, her voice velvet and steel, "you will give me everything." She began by making us stand opposite one another, as before. "Look at each other," she commanded. Our eyes met, and for the first time, neither of us looked away. I saw the same confusion mirrored back at me: fear, desire, surrender. "Closer," she said. We stepped forward. Touch. Our hands met, fingers intertwining. A shiver ran down my spine. "Now," she whispered, circling us like a predator, "understand this, neither of you belongs to yourselves. You belong to me." Her hand slid over our shoulders, pressing us nearer until our breaths mingled, hot and uneven. The lesson deepened. She blindfolded me first. Darkness swallowed the room, but her voice was sharp and constant. "Kneel." I obeyed. "Hold out your hands." Something warm brushed against my palms, Emily's wrists. I grasped them, feeling her pulse race under my touch. "Do not let go," Bennet warned. Then came silence, broken only by Emily's breath, quick and uneven. Suddenly, Bennett's hand struck lightly across my shoulder, a sting, a reminder. "Focus," she hissed. "Control her. Control yourself." I held tighter, my whole body trembling with restraint. When the blindfold was removed, Emily was kneeling beside me, her cheeks flushed, her lips parted. She looked utterly undone, yet her eyes glowed with something fierce. And standing above us was Bennet, her gaze burning with triumph. "You see," she whispered. "This is power. To bind, to break, to rebuild." Her hand cupped my chin, then Emily's. She tilted our faces upward, making us look at her like disciples before a queen. "You are mine," she declared. "Both of you." "Yes, ma'am," we whispered in unison. But something shifted inside me. As I knelt there, surrendering, a thought clawed at the back of my mind: was this truly freedom? Or had I become nothing more than a puppet, dancing to her strings? I glanced at Emily. She was breathing hard, her eyes locked on Bennet with blind devotion. And I realized she had already given herself completely. But I hadn't. Not yet. After the session, Bennet dismissed Emily first. She left quietly, her footsteps fading down the hall. When the door clicked shut, Bennet turned to me. "You hesitate," she said softly. My throat tightened. "I don't know if I can keep doing this." Her smile was cold, almost pitying. "Oh, you can," she whispered. "Because you crave it. You crave me. No matter what you tell yourself." Her hand slid to my chest, feeling the hammer of my heart. Do you deny it? I couldn't speak. My silence was answer enough. She leaned close, her lips almost brushing my ear. Then you belong to me. Say it one last time. The words burned my tongue, heavy as chains. But I forced them out. I'm yours. Her smile was slow, victorious. Good boy. And just like that, I knew the truth. I had crossed a line I could never return from. Whether it was love, obsession, or enslavement, I didn't know. All I knew was that she had consumed me body, mind, and soul. And I didn't want to be free. Epilogue. People say university changes you. They don't tell you it can break you, remake you, bind you to something you never imagined. To the world, Professor Bennett is still just a lecturer. Emily is still just another student. And I am just another face in the crowd. But in room 304, behind closed doors, we are something else entirely. A secret. A lesson. A fire that will never go out.